And Peter, let me just first ask you, were you surprised by this announcement this morning?
Not really, no. It's something I think that's had to come eventually. What it reminded me of was, do you recollect that Pointer Sisters song about Samson and Delilah and Romeo and Juliet, a love they couldn't get,
no.
that couldn't get any higher?
No.
Well, what's happened?
Okay, look what's happened. The only Pointer Sisters song I remember was "I'm So Excited," but I guess that doesn't apply here. Peter, what about, I guess, BHP and Rio Tinto? I mean, look, wasn't BHP going to pay about $5 billion to get this deal done? So in the end, with this fallout, who suffers more here?
Well, the idea was to have an equity payment, which was won by BHP to Rio Tinto, to balance out the projects there to make it a 50-50 joint venture in the Pilbara. Now, that's not going to go ahead, nor is the combined companies themselves forming into one unit.
Okay, well, Peter, what about $10 billion in costs? That's what it was going to save them. Don't you think they suffer now in having to operate, I guess, their iron ore ventures separately? They don't get those cost savings anymore.
Well, they don't, and they never did, because they were being run separately previously. And so they'll just have to each go their own way. And in their announcements respectively today, each company said that they were going to continue on with their own expansion projects. It means that, yes, there'll be higher levels of iron ore production from that region of Western Australia, but there won't be the economies of scale that would come through if those operations were combined into a single entity, a single operating unit.
Okay, now, Peter, do you think that with this, I guess, JV being broken up, that BHP and Rio Tinto really kowtowed to international pressure? You know, European antitrust regulators saying that this gives too much pricing power for the JV. We had European and also Asian steelmakers up in arms about this. What do you think? Do you think, in the end, these two miners knuckled under?
Well, they'd really had no choice. There was a decision made by the German antitrust people just last week, and the possibility of the EU making a similar one, and I think they just bowed to the inevitable pressure that was being brought by these consumer groups elsewhere in the world.
Okay, well, how about going forward then, now that there are two separate entities, two separate iron ore producers? You know, we recently had some output numbers coming from both BHP and Rio. Still good value in these shares?
They've got excellent exposure to continuing high levels of iron ore prices, and not only that, they've got good margins at the moment through those factors, but they're both, as I mentioned, expanding output, and so they'll get a combination of increased margins plus increased levels of output, and those two factors will mean that, particularly in the case of Rio Tinto, that iron ore is really the profit driver to the group.
Okay, now, Peter, this seems to be an ongoing courting process between BHP and Rio. You know, there was this takeover bid for Rio Tinto coming from BHP. Then they decided to, why not just join up our iron ore ventures? This has been called off now. Do you think we'll see an ongoing dance between these two miners to possibly have some sort of, I guess, a merger in the future? This isn't the last attempt, right?
Well, there could be further activity on that front. Both are keen to develop their own interests, but at one stage it would make a logical sense for them to get together, notwithstanding problems such as the iron ore proposed joint venture has come into. So they'll each be expanding their own activities. They've got pipelines of new developments as well as expansions, and they'll each go their own way until perhaps they glance at each other across a crowded room at another instance in the future.
Okay, Peter, I like your dancing theme this morning. Thank you for that.